Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
I'll get the guns, the drugs from my generation. I'll take the fall, the state, and across the nation. And it's a state, the guns, the fake, the fraud, the messing with me. Come on, let's get it on.
All right, come on in, sit down, grab a glass of eggnog, maybe a can or two, and let's sit down and talk some wrestling, shall we? My name is Brandy, also known as Ryan Taylor Girl. I also respond to Alaska, and I'm officially kicking off the holiday season because it's December 1st and not, pre-Thanksgiving before Halloween, because this is the month for Christmas stuff.
Yes, and it is Robbie, also known as the Long Island Lumberjack. I am scruffy as hell, and you can't teach that.
Yeah, somebody was doing No Shave November, and he's turned out quite well. It looks very nice.
It is. I'm thinking of keeping it around. We'll see what happens, but for now, we're keeping it.
Yes, and it's nice because it's cold in the winter, and the snow will inevitably come along with that.
Don't wish that evil on me, lady.
I'm sorry. It's unfortunately a fact of life. I hate the snow as much as you do, probably more.
Well, yeah, because, Alaskan snow, it's kind of part and parcel, I think.
Yeah, my snow lasts until, May.
If you're lucky.
No, not if we're lucky. It just does.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Anyway, this is kind of like a week of returns because last week we had Sami Callihan returning onto the independent scene. He returned, I believe it was Saturday night at AAW it was either Chicago or Berwyn, Illinois, which is very close to Chicago. But anyway, returns to AAW, attacks the new AAW champion Eddie Kingston. The next night he's at, where was he?
CZW?
No, he wasn't at CZW. He returned somewhere else.
Oh.
But he will be returning to CZW at their next show.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's like, Sami Callihan is coming home to blah, blah, blah.
That's right. It seems to be the big tag.
One of my friends posted on Facebook, when you return to the Indies, is wherever you came from before considered your home, or is it where you made your name, or what do you consider your home when you come back from, say, in Sami's case, WWE?
I don't know. I'd like to think that it's a place where not only have you spent ample time, but you've achieved ample success. I think Matt Sydal is a great example of this. Keep in mind that initially he was a Ring of Honor guy from 2004-2007, was signed by WWE in 2007, but then was released in 2014. Came back to ROH later that year, and one could argue, and it's a sound argument, that he achieved more in ROH the second time around, and even in New Japan. He came to New Japan, won the Super Junior Tag Tournament with Ricochet. One could say that ROH was his home. I mean, what did he really accomplish in WWE? He won a tag team title with Kofi, which was great. Good for him. But what do you really remember about that run? It's kind of uneventful when you think about it.
It is, and in some cases, like with Matt Sydal, Evan Bourne, it's kind of clear cut. Like for CM Punk, ROH is home because that's where he really became a mainstream big name. For Joey Ryan, PWG is his home. So when he got his release from TNA, the first major place he went back to was PWG. But with Sami's case, it's kind of he made his name everywhere.
That makes sense.
I would personally say it was CZW because that's where he got a lot more mainstream exposure. Yeah. So, but it's just an interesting thing to ponder.
Yeah, you could also argue that that a wrestler's home is where they were treated the best. For example, AJ Styles, before he was in TNA for that decade, became the face of that company. He was in ROH for a time, achieved success.
He was actually concurrent because it was before they did the the thing where you can't compete anywhere on TV.
Yeah, but when he came to TNA, became a multi-time champion. TNA World Champion, X Division champion.
Tag team champion,
Yeah,
Legends champion.
Yeah, the dude's decorated to say the least. But as time went on, Styles became less of a factor. I felt like he became more of a background guy. And even when he was put into the forefront, the storylines really weren't that great. They didn't really complement him well. Claire Lynch storyline rings bells, and the less said about that particular angle, the better. But needless to say, after his run with TNA ended, came back to ROH, not only achieved success there, but in New Japan, where he is I think a two-time IWGP Heavyweight Champion.
Yes, 2-time.
Yeah, so I'd like to think that they treated him much better during that time than TNA did during that latter period.
Definitely, but with things like Claire Lynch, that was Vince Russo's fault. So, yeah. A lot of that was Vince Russo's fault. We don't like Vince Russo.
Yeah, no. What about Kurt Angle? Do you think TNA's his home or WWE?
That's a good question. I'd say WWE is his home because that's not only where he broke into wrestling from being an Olympic champion, it's where most people know him from. And even though he pours his heart and soul into wherever he goes.
Oh yeah, the guy's a workhorse.
When you say Kurt Angle, what do people think of? WWE.
Yeah, I mean, he spent more time in TNA, overall, and I'm sure he finds he's proud of that time in TNA. He's had great matches there, but when I think of great Kurt Angle matches, I think of, his street fight with Shane McMahon at King of the Ring. I think of his duels with Brock Lesnar, his fights with The Undertaker. All these really great matches that you can go back, and not only are they nostalgic, but they still hold up.
They do. And with older wrestlers, it tends to be where they spent their prime. And Kurt Angle's prime was definitely in WWE. He was older when he came to TNA. His body broke down more. Not to say he didn't have anything left to give. It's just that was just the reality of what was going on with his body.
And now we're sort of approaching his retirement tour in the UK. We don't know for sure if this means he's retiring from TNA specifically or all of wrestling.
I think it's just leaving TNA, and I think he wants to have one. His goal would be one last match or one last run in WWE, but WWE's already kind of made the pass because he wanted a lighter, like a Randy Orton or a Brock Lesnar schedule. Really light. And
honestly,
they weren't digging it.
I don't know. I think I guess in WWE's mind, they're sort of looking at it financially because Brock Lesnar does not come cheap.
No.
Suffice it to say, I don't know if they would do the same thing for Kurt Angle, as great as he is. It's a financial thing.
It is, and there is the trust factor as well because the last time when he left WWE, it wasn't on the best of terms. It was because he was battling with addiction and would not go to rehab at the time. So that's why he was let go. So there's obviously the trust issue.
Yeah. And I guess he doesn't really want the travel. I think the travel was another factor that aided in that departure. Yes,
definitely. So we'll have to see, but it's easy. Like with Hogan, everyone thinks of WWF, 1988, Pontiac Silverdome, 93,000 fans body slamming Andre the Giant. You think of Ric Flair, you think of the NWA, you think of WCW. You think of Sting, you think of WCW, obviously, because his year in WWE has been quite unmemorable.
Aside from
the scares.
It has been. But yeah, we're talking about returns. We're talking about, where wrestlers might see their homes, which I think is probably the big topic of tonight's show because with Monday Night Raw, a lot didn't really happen. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of the case for a lot of the past Raws. In fact, the most memorable thing on this show was the return of ECW original Tommy Dreamer.
It was definitely a surprise. They kept that one under their hat. He came to the aid of his WC or ECW brethren. I'm sorry,
Mhm.
the Dudley Boys. So now it's kind of evened up with who are they fighting against? The Wyatts?
Yep, the Wyatt family, all four of them.
Well, now it's well, you could count Bubba
Mhm.
too.
Okay.
Sorry, Bubba.
He trimmed up a little bit, to be fair.
I know, but
He's still a big guy.
he's still a big dude. He's a big Italian.
Yeah.
So it's sort of evened up a little bit. It's 3-on-4, and maybe they'll bring Spike back for
Yeah,
4-on-4.
yeah. It's funny, Bubba Ray, when he was cutting the promo against the Whites, he was like, "You guys have your family, well, we have ours." And initially, your mind goes, "Oh my God, it's Spike Dudley, or it's one of the other Dudleys from ECW." But not to say I don't like Tommy Dreamer. Believe me, all respect to the innovator of violence. But at the same time, I think Spike could be a fourth man if they wanted to expand the storyline a little bit.
True, but they couldn't really do any other members of the Dudley family. Big Dick Dudley passed away. I think it was back
Yeah.
in 2002, and then there was Sign Guy Dudley, and all he did was hold signs. And I'm drawing a blank on all the other Dudleys, but none of them really wrestled, besides
Yeah.
Spike and Big Dick. So
I mean, you could get some other ECW guy in there. I guess, Sandman. I mean, all he does is throw kendo sticks. He doesn't really wrestle.
I mean, he's working construction, so
Yeah, I'm sure he'd be down to coming back for another little run. I don't know if you'd want to get Raven back because
oh no,
yeah, I think he's very sour on WWE. Stevie
he's not
Richards,
sour so much as the terms of him leaving as Johnny Polo and
Yeah.
the terms of him leaving the last time were not very good. Something happened. He did an interview recently, and I just read it on one of the shows
Yeah.
on one of the news sites I like, and he wouldn't go into detail, but something happened where they made it company policy where wrestlers can't sleep with the office staff,
Oof, that'll do it.
and he was the reason. So
Good. I guess good on Raven for scoring, but yeah, no. Yeah, I don't know.
obviously that was thrown out the window when it was the boss's daughter and Triple H,
Mhm.
but the rule is office staff wrestlers, they're strictly apart.
Rules of wrestling are really weird, aren't they?
They are. He said he would be open, but he doesn't think there's a very
Mhm.
minute chance of that happening.
Yeah, it does seem that way. I mean, maybe RVD. I don't know what their deal with him is.
As far as I know, he left on his own terms, and I think that would be a good spot to bring him in at, because RVD's not a guy that you would want to bring in full time, obviously because of his
Yeah.
age, and that's not what he wants to do in his life right now. But I think that would definitely be a good spot to bring him in, and he could
could.
definitely help elevate the other members of the Wyatt family, not just Bray, because Bray is
Yeah.
obviously, second to the Undertaker, the scariest person in WWE right now.
It's this. Yeah, Bray is definitely the focal point. Strowman after him, Harper after him, and Rowan after him. So, yeah, the patriarch of the Wyatt family is definitely the focal point.
He is, and Braun, well, you can't miss him. So,
No.
and, I keep wanting to call him Brody Lee, because that was
Luke.
his name on the Indies. Luke, yes, Luke Harper. Obviously he has the indie reputation that precedes him, and it's well deserved. The man is very, very good in the ring. So I think they could really use someone like an RVD to help elevate somebody like Rowan, because he kind of gets left out.
He does, and it's not that he's a bad talent. It's just he's kind of overshadowed by these bigger personalities.
Or just bigger human beings.
Oh yeah. Strowman is he's a large mountain of a man.
He is. I wouldn't want to have to sit next to him on the airplane.
Yeah, you probably shit yourself scared.
No, I wouldn't have any armrest space.
Oh, well, I guess that'd be the least of my concerns, but okay.
I look at things logically. I'm like, no, I want my armrest.
You say logically, I say pants on head insane, but sure. Let's go with that.
I have purple and red hair. What made you think I was ever sane?
I don't know. How about the fact that you are smarter than me in every conceivable way?
No, I just have a better memory in some cases. I remember lots of random things.
Hey, come on. This college education of mine is just window dressing. That's all
A
it
very
is.
expensive piece of paper.
That's what it is. I mean, have you seen a lot of college students today? Hello.
Yeah, they're working at the grocery store.
This is true. That's my little brother situation.
Because there's no jobs with your lovely education.
No, but now we're getting totally off topic.
We're totally off topic, but going off on a rabbit trail is nothing new for us.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of returns, we saw the packages roll out on NXT for the return of Sami Zayn.
Yeah, the dude's been away for the majority of the year.
Yes, it's been very sad. I've missed my Sami.
And it seems like he'll be returning soon. WWE was not clear as to when he'll be returning. My guess is that he'll be returning during the UK tour or Takeover London, which will be later this month.
I think that would be good because they have everything is taped up until Takeover London for NXT for the show. So I think that would be they'll probably bring him in he's advertised for the UK tour.
Yeah.
So he will be over there. He'll probably work those shows and then debut back on the main NXT roster at NXT TakeOver London. Which will be nice considering that William Regal will no longer be wrestling on that show.
Yes, it is unfortunate. But that's, I can see him making an appearance after the main event, regardless if Finn Balor wins or Samoa Joe wins. You can see him challenging for the title, being there for a couple months. I can't see him being on NXT for more than 3 months, and I'm being generous, before moving to the main roster, because I think that's where he's destined to be early in 2016.
I think so, but then it leaves wait a minute, who's left on NXT? Because with this mass exodus of everybody leaving, it's just like, holy crap, all we have left are Sami coming back, Finn, Samoa Joe, Apollo Crews.
I think if the timetables are if the times match up, that could be around the time Hideo Itami returns.
True, but that's still a thin roster. So they need to work on helping elevating some of the younger, quote unquote younger guys to the NXT crowd and start building them. So that's who do you want to use a Sami Zayn for? That's who you'd want to use a Samoa Joe for. Help build someone like an Apollo Crews. I don't even know who's there.
I mean, you got Baron Corbin, who's going to be there for a while, I could imagine, as their big heel. And it seems like we're going to get a couple of new debuts. During that same NXT show, they showed a promo package for the Drifter, Elias Sampson. He was playing a guitar, singing a very dark, brooding song. And it was funny because I was on the Squared Circle Reddit, and somebody sort of took the lyrics and did this weird evaluation of the lyrics, and it's like he's singing about the past NXT champions: Seth Rollins, Big E, Bo Dallas, Adrian Neville. He's not explicitly saying their names, but just his descriptions could match up. I can't do it justice, but needless to say, Samson's promo was very interesting. I could see him playing a role going forward.
That's good. We need someone creepy. We need someone who's got a lot of personality, a lot of pizzazz. Just be able to work and do good matches, and I'll be happy.
Yeah, it does seem like. Yeah, I think he was in one of the preliminary matches during Takeover Brooklyn, and he did well, I thought. So we'll see what happens.
That's good. Were there any other debut packages? I haven't watched. I tend to stick on the Food Network.
No debut packages I could tell you about. However, you had the return of Enzo and Big Cass after Big Cass was injured at the hands of Dash and Dawson, the current NXT Tag Champions. they confronted the champions after they defeated the Vaudevillains. So it seems like we're going to have Enzo and Cass challenging the champs at TakeOver, if my wrestling logic is to be believed. So maybe we can finally get the big moment for the New York, New Jersey faction.
Exactly. It just sucks it couldn't be in like Brooklyn because they were so over in Brooklyn.
Yeah. It seems like this was a very slow burn.
Yeah. But that's all right. They'll get everybody back on fire because that's how they roll.
Yes. Apart from that, you had the main event for the women's title, Bayley versus Eva Marie. I will say this though. This was Eva's best match to date, mostly because NXT was smart in how they kind of booked around her weaknesses. She really didn't do too much. It just seemed like there was a lot of storytelling, with Charles Robinson being the guest official, being quote-unquote paid off by the Authority to favor Eva Marie, Nia Jax being the enforcer for Eva, interfering whenever the ref had his back turned. And there was a lot of heat on Eva. Like, they did not want to see her defeat Bayley for the title. They did not want to see it happen.
If there was a queen of NXT, it would be Bayley. Because I don't know of anybody who doesn't like Bayley. Everybody loves Bayley.
Oh, she's amazing. She's amazing. But thankfully, she retained that night. However, she was not left standing tall because Nia Jax laid her out. And it seems like
I would like to see her be the next contender because I love Nia Jax.
It does seem that way. I think that she can do well. She's growing on me. She's definitely growing on me as a performer.
Definitely has a lot of potential. And I saw some caps from the match, and there was this dude in the front row. He pulled out a book.
He did.
Pulled out a book, and he's sitting there reading.
He had the right idea. I think the idea is any heat is good heat. When you're just sitting there quietly, not focusing on the match, that's even worse.
It is. We were talking about this earlier because I don't like Eva, but unlike people on like Tumblr, I don't espouse my hatred. I don't go off on vehement tangents.
Yeah.
Because if she's eliciting hatred from you, she's still doing her job. She's getting a response.
Yeah, just be like that guy and sit down with a book, maybe look at your phone. I don't know.
Be indifferent. Indifference is worse than hatred because you can't even be bothered enough to care.
Yeah, the same thing with me during Raw. Do you know how much of Raw I actually sit down and watch attentively? Not a whole lot of it. More often than not, I'm on social media or I'm playing a game or doing something other than watching Raw, which is, it sounds bad, but that's just the way I've grown to do things.
It is, and unfortunately what's bad is we're going to have to send you to a break for now. But go ahead, be back in just a couple of minutes right here on Late Night Sports Radio. You're listening to the Whole 1005 podcast.
the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
All right, welcome back to the Whole 1005 podcast. I had a nice little short break, which was nice. I went and got some eggnog myself, so we're back in the holiday spirit. We'll start off with the update on the New Japan, the World Tag League tournament. And the updated standings are, we have a three-way tie in Block A with 6 points. And the teams are Tanahashi and Michael Elgin, Makabe and Honma, Okada and Yoshihashi all have 6 points in Block A. In Block B, we have two teams that are tied with 6 points, Evil and Naito, and Goto and Shibata. Both teams have 6 points. And then following underneath, tied with 4 points in Block A, Christopher Daniels and Kazarian and
Nakanishi
and Nagata. And then following up with just 2 points, we have Sakuraba and Toru Yano. And still stuck at 2 points, Bad Luck Fale and Tama Tonga. Not good luck.
No.
Not good luck. It's bad luck.
Living up to his name. Poor
yes,
guy.
Unfortunately. Tied for 4 points in Block B. Carl Anderson, Doc Gallows, Tenzan and Kojima, and Nakamura and Ishii. And then at 2 points, we have AJ Styles and Takahashi. Because of a back injury, Styles and Takahashi had to forfeit their third and fourth matches in the tournament. So they haven't wrestled in a couple weeks. And then also at 2 points is Matt Taven and Michael Bennett.
Yes, so right now, I believe we have 5 more shows, I should say, until the finals. And on the 3rd, it's going to be Bad Influence taking on Sakuraba and Yano in Block A. In Block B, Goto and Shibata, a.k.a. Mayu Tag, taking on the Kingdom's Matt Taven and Michael Bennett. Also in Block B, well, not anymore because it was supposed to be Styles and Takahashi taking on Evil and Naito, but it seems like that's going to be forfeit. Those points are going to go to Naito and Evil.
Mm-hmm.
And the night after, in Block A, Bad Influence taking on Nakanishi and Nagata. Bad Luck Fale and Tama Tonga taking on Tanahashi and Elgin. And in Block B, Nakamura and Ishii taking on Tenzan and Kojima. On the 5th, there's 2 Block B matches. First, Tenzan and Kojima taking on Matt Taven and Michael Bennett. Again, this is supposed to be, Styles and Takahashi, but they'll be out, meaning that Gallows
They
and
might be back for that one because they only forfeited the match against Matt Taven and Michael Bennett, and they forfeited the match against Goto and Shibata.
Good, because this is going to be a Bullet Club versus Bullet Club match where they take on Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson. Yep, whatever noise that was. And on Block A, Sakuraba and Yano taking on Tanahashi and Elgin. And on the December 6th show, you have 4 matches. In Block B, Gallows and Anderson taking on Nakamura and Ishii. Also, Evil and Naito taking on Goto and Shibata. Block A, Bad Luck Fale and Tama Tonga taking on Sakuraba and Yano. And Block A, once again, Okada and Yoshihashi taking on Makabe and Honma. And on the 9th is going to be the final match, meaning that the winner of Block A and Block B will take on one another to determine the winner of the World Tag League 2015.
Whee! I'm going to go with my picks for the final as Tanahashi and Elgin taking on Goto and Shibata.
Mine is close to yours, but not really. I think that's going to be Tanahashi and Elgin taking on Evil and Naito.
That's my dark horse pick, but I'm gonna go with I see Goto and Shibata being repeats. So
It's a safe bet. I like them as a team, like them as individual wrestlers as well. I would like to think that this could help propel Naito and Evil as just this dickish heel group. So I would like to see them win. I would like to see them uh, move forward to Wrestle Kingdom 10 with momentum because I don't think that they're gonna be left off that show, not by a long shot.
I don't think so. I think they're gonna play an integral role in one of the semi mains on Wrestle Kingdom 10. So that's going to be good. As always, you can subscribe to New Japan World for just 999 yen a month. And that works out to about 870, 875, depending on the exchange rate. American.
Yeah, yeah, and I think they just added like a crapload of new content on the site. So if you want to check it out, I think now's a good time to do so.
Speaking of crapload of new content, WWE Network, they added a whole bunch of Mid-South and Smoky Mountain Wrestling. But apparently it's like there's no continuity. It's just seeming like random episodes.
Yeah, I mean, it should be fun to see to sort of go back and watch them. And like, I want to check them out maybe tomorrow or the day after because my knowledge of Smoky Mountain and Mid South is very limited. So
I
it'll
mean,
be
with Smoky Mountain, you can see some really awesome legends now, and
yeah,
in their very young state, like a Chris Candido and Chris Jericho and Lance Storm were there for a while.
the Thrill Seekers,
The Thrill
nice.
Seekers, and you can see when Dirty Dutch Mantel actually wrestled, and that everybody knows now is Zeb Coulter and rides around in the hijacked Johnny Ace ride.
The People Power Ride,
Hijacked People Power ride.
damn right.
And since we're going with tag teams, I've subscribed to the WWN Live alerts for Evolve, and they're gonna crown tag team champions in Evolve. So they're gonna have a triple shot 3-day tournament. There'll be 3 tournaments taking over the course of these 3 events. The first one will be on January 22nd in Yarber City, Florida, and then on the 23rd and the 24th they'll be in Orlando. And if you want to go to these events, dgusa.tv. And there'll be an 8-team tournament for the Evolve Tag Team Championship. And the teams that are announced are the Evolve champion Timothy Thatcher teaming up with Zack Sabre Jr., Chris Hero teaming up with Tommy End, Roppongi Vice, Trent Beretta, and Rocky Romero. The Premier Athlete brand will be represented by Caleb Conley and Anthony Nese. Johnny Gargano will be teaming up with Drew Galloway and Harlem and Lancelot Bravado. And then just yesterday, we saw that Drew Gulak will be teaming up with TJ Perkins. Now, this is a bit different because he's not teaming up with his usual tag team partner, Tracy Williams.
Hmm.
We'll have to see why that is. And then Team Tremendous, Dan Barry, and Bill Carr will be in this tournament as well.
It does seem like this is a sort of a who's who of wrestling, and even teams that you wouldn't necessarily think about. For example, Roppongi Vice goes without saying, they're an established team in IWGP, New Japan, I should say, as well as ROH when they come over. Other teams like Gargano and Galloway, it's kind of surprising, but at the same time, it does add a little bit of spice to this tournament. And hey, I'm a sucker for these tag tournaments anyway, so.
They are, and they're going to have a style battle round robin tournament, which is when they just take different wrestlers with different styles and pair them off and see who's the best of each style. But the first of 4 individuals will be Matt Riddle. I haven't heard of Matt Riddle before, but I'm definitely interested to see. But they take 4 people who have unique styles, and they see who's going to be the breakout star of 2016. Who's going to be the big name in wrestling. So as far as Evolve is concerned. So we'll have to see who else gets added to this 4-person round robin tournament, because I think it's going to be 3 people that haven't been brought into Evolve before, which is always cool, because with seeing the tie-ins with Evolve and WWN Live with WWE is a little bit as like their farm. That's
Yeah.
super cool.
Yeah, I mean, all I have to do is look at how NXT used Gargano and Ciampa.
Exactly. So we'll have to wait and see who's going to be the breakout star. See what else is there. Anything else has been announced? Because you have to read through the whole thing to get all the announcements. They don't put it all at once.
But yeah, so far it does seem very promising. I mean, once again, we're big fans of tournaments in wrestling. Some of them are done better than others. For example, the New Japan Cup was a lot of fun earlier this year. King of the Ring in WWE, not so much. So, I don't know, you think like the biggest wrestling company in the world would be able to do a tournament well?
Please. Yeah, that's it for the announcements so far, but as we get closer to Christmas, they'll announce more, and they're always sending out free matches for you to see in the newsletter. Like this last one that came out yesterday, you can see Zack Sabre Jr. versus Roderick Strong from Evolve 45 for free with this when you subscribe to that newsletter, which is really cool, and it just shows up every couple weeks in your inbox, which is nice, because otherwise I wouldn't know about it. They also have a Roku channel, so if you buy any of their digital titles or you want to watch one of their iPay-per-views, you can watch it on your Roku player, which I think is cool.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that a lot of companies don't do. I think New Japan in particular should get on that.
Unfortunately, it's very costly. It took them like 2.5 years to develop.
Yeah.
So they also announced the WWN Academy, and their first class will be starting in January of 2016. And you can train with the future of pro wrestling. It's Evolve, Shimmer, ACW, FIP, Viva La Lucha, Shine, and it will be in Florida. And they take all your major credit cards. So
Best
if
of
you
luck.
want to learn to be a wrestler, and you're in Florida, of all places.
Once again, best of luck.
Speaking of best of luck, I hope everybody survived like the whole Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekend thing, because it's just a hellish time, especially if you work in retail.
Yeah. Oh, I shopped online. I know you did as well.
I shopped online. I got all my shopping done on Black Friday. I did not leave my house.
No, there's nothing short of a fire or an earthquake or apocalypse or dragons flying around would get me out of my house.
I tried to go to Black Friday once because they had I didn't have my PlayStation 3, and they had a WWE 12. Was that the one when they had Punk on the cover?
Yes.
That was the one then. And they had a bundle at Walmart, so I'm like, okay, I'll try this out. Took me an hour to find a parking spot. By the way, I live in a small town. There's not that many people, but they all come out of the woodwork on Black Friday.
Isn't it weird how that works?
And I get inside, and I get back to the electronics department, and of course I get back to the case, and they're all gone already. And I'm staying there, and I'm next to this, like, they bring out the trolley carts with all the extra stuff and the special displays. So I'm standing on the end of one of those. This kid comes screaming around the corner with a cart, full cart, and I almost get smashed between the cart and the trolley.
That would have been some Final Destination stuff right there.
So, yeah, don't go out shopping on Black Friday because you might die at the hands of a 12-year-old with a cart.
Or trampled. Though I haven't heard a lot of trampling stories though.
No, usually that's because they end up dead.
Should be a good thing. if we're not hearing these stories.
True. I know I saw a couple of headlines where they had someone was trampled to death, unfortunately, in a Walmart.
Yeah. It's wild how humans act when big deals are announced.
And it's only in the United States. Like I saw a video of Black Friday in the United Kingdom, and people were just orderly waiting in the queues in the lines, and they went in, and everybody was like totally cool.
Mhm.
So it's only in the United States do we get nuts.
Yeah, I can imagine in the UK it's different. I mean, you get out of line, I'm sure one of those guards will come over, splash some hot tea in your face, boom, you're down. Down for the count.
There were guards there, but they weren't needed because everybody was just being orderly.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They were munching on their crumpets. And yes, I know I'm being very belligerent. I'm sorry, but
You're
it's
gonna have fun when I take you over to England.
yes, me and my tea and crumpets.
I lived there for 3 months. I never once had crumpets.
Well, you're doing it wrong, apparently, if you're not
I
having
had
crumpets.
biscuits. Biscuits are much better.
Aren't biscuits cookies?
Yes.
Well, then just call them cookies.
No, because they're biscuits. They're not like American style cookies.
Well, they're still motherfucker. Okay, fine, they're biscuits.
Thank
Let's,
you.
let's leave it at that. Yes, but once again, going off on tangents.
Of course. It's because there's nothing going on in wrestling right now, so you just have to.
Yeah, yeah. Though I am excited for this upcoming release, NXT Greatest Matches Volume 1. It's going to be released on March 8th, and they've just announced the full listings of matches. I was especially focused on the pre-network NXT matches because I think most new fans know of NXT now as this sort of alternative brand, kind of like ECW. But
Mhm.
back when I started watching, and maybe when you started watching, it was very much developmental. It was
Mhm.
very bare bones in terms of presentation and you know, talent, characters, things like that. And a lot of these matches kind of bring back a sense of nostalgia. For example, Seth Rollins versus Jinder Mahal in the NXT title finals. That's going to be on the DVD.
Please
Paige,
tell me that Dean Ambrose versus William Regal is on this.
was that an NXT match?
Yes!
Wow, I must have fucking missed that. I don't think it is though. I
It
think they
was
might have.
during the FCW days, but yes.
Oh, well, I don't think it's on there. I haven't seen it on the listings. But what's on
That's one
here?
of the greatest matches in history you
Yeah,
must watch.
but what's on here is the Paige versus Emma match for the NXT Women's title, the tournament
Oh, the
finals for that,
start of the Divas
yeah.
Revolution.
And even Cesaro's matches with Sami Zayn and William Regal are on there.
Also good matches.
Yeah, just really cool stuff. And it's sad because I don't know if we'll ever get those NXT episodes on the network
Probably
before the
not.
network was actually a thing. It's unfortunate, but at the same time, I'm glad this release is coming out. I don't buy wrestling DVDs very often, considering the the digital content we have right now through the network. This might be a point where I make an exception.
Definitely. Birthday present, because my
Yeah.
birthday's in March.
See, subtle hints, ladies and gentlemen. Subtle,
Subtle
subtle.
hints. I put the B
Yeah.
in subtle.
Yes. In not so positive news, Japanese wrestler from World Wonder Ring Stardom, Act Yasukawa. Act Yasukawa announced that she will be retiring on December 23rd at Korakuen Hall. For those who don't know, back in 2014 during the summer, she was hospitalized with Graves' disease, which is, from what I understand, an overproduction of thyroid hormones, and it's a more common condition in women younger than 40. In any event, during that summer, she had surgery to correct a vision problem in her right eye, which was brought on because of the disease. Uh, Returned to wrestling afterwards, but in February of 2015, she was facing this woman, Yoshiko, and during the match, Yoshiko took more than a few liberties with her. During the match, Act suffered a concussion, a fractured orbital socket, and a nasal cavity. And apparently, this happened because of jealousy on Yoshiko's part, who saw Act as kind of like a threat to her popularity in the Joshi Puroresu scene. Uh, you know, After that point, this was a really publicized incident, by the way, in Japan. A lot of places were covering it. News spread to the west. It was a pretty big thing for a while. Anyway, Act rehabbed. She trained to become stronger. Unfortunately, her vision did not improve, and she was told by a doctor weeks before her return to the ring on September 23rd that her vision would never recover and she would have to stop wrestling. So it was due to this incident that she basically had to hang up the boots. And I think it's important to note that she just turned 29 last month. Most wrestlers hit their prime around their mid-30s, early to mid-30s. I think that's the prime. She didn't even get to hit that before she was told she had to retire, which it's sad. It really is sad. And I just read more unfortunate details when I looked into this matter further. Supposedly, back in 2011, when she was approached by Stardom to be a wrestler, she started training, and about 3 months into that training session, she became ill. She became very weak, and her doctor told her, look, due to your condition, you should not be wrestling. But she was very driven. She wanted to push forward, and she took medication to help strengthen her body so she could be physically cleared to compete in Stardom. The side effect, though, was that it would leave her infertile. So, and that makes the whole situation with Yoshiko that much more unfortunate, because not only did she sacrifice a lot to be in wrestling, but it almost feels like it wasn't worth it in the long run because this maniac took it from her.
It's sad because it happened that way. I mean, it's a lot for a woman to give up the opportunity to have children. I mean, I personally, it wouldn't be much for me because I don't want any. But it's a big thing for a lot of women. And for her to make that sacrifice, that's huge.
And no one really came out of the story. And no one really came out of the story better for it. I mean, Act had to retire very young in her life. Yoshiko is not only blackballed from Stardom, but pro wrestling in general for this incident. So it's like, who did this benefit? You know what I mean?
Nobody.
What happened aside from dreams being shattered?
Nothing, because not only did Act's dreams get shattered, so did Yoshiko's. Her career is over.
Exactly. So,
Dunzo.
it is very unfortunate, and I have to say that December 23rd is going to be a very emotional show, I'd like to think. And hopefully, hopefully she does well in whatever she does in the future. From what I understand, she's got her other hobbies. She's big into cooking, from what I understand. So hopefully she finds time to do other things, pursue other interests.
Hopefully she comes out of it well. A lot of people, when they walk away from what they love, like wrestling, it's hard for them to find their identity.
Yeah.
So we do wish her the best of luck as she moves on with her life, unfortunately. But she'll always be part of wrestling, and wrestling will always be a part of her.
Mm-hmm.
And I think on that note, we'll go ahead and say goodnight and see you next week right here on Late Night Sports Radio and Hold 1005 Podcast.